Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everybody doing? My name is Tony Kimball. I am your host of Transforming Lives. I'm excited that you decided to join with us. If you could, please give Facebook permission. If you plan to comment, drop your hearts, drop your thumbs up, all that good stuff, do all that great stuff. But you must give Facebook the permission to do so that I'm able to show you this. So, as every night that we come on, we're talking with genuine people with real lives. Our mission is allowing people from our communities to share their stories to encourage others to live a transformed life. And tonight's no different. Tonight, what we're doing is we have a person that kind of the backstory to this is that I don't want to date how far back it was, but several years ago, I decided to leave the great state of Mississippi to continue, I'll say my education, but to go play football in the mountains of Western North Carolina. And it was definitely a unique experience. Definitely a whole nother story to that. But I landed in this town called Mars Hill, North Carolina, which is, I forgot how far away it is from the major city of Asheville, North Carolina. And being there, there were a lot of moments that had an impact on my life and changed my life. I can say that was, if I can pinpoint one of the moments in my life, I can say going to Asheville was one that definitely transformed my life. When I think about meeting people, the encounters that I had, Asheville, North Carolina was one. Well, Asheville, North Carolina brought about a new culture for me, a new group of people that I met. And one is our guest for tonight. When I ran across this quote here. This is a quote from Jackie Robinson. He says, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives." Well, guys, that's the thing. When I think about it, it's important to understand that how do I have an impact on someone's life? It's important. And this young lady that's going to come on in a little bit is one that I saw that had an impact. She is one that I can start with her mother. That's my really my first interaction with her, and is Elder Roxy Wynn. So Elder Wynn, if you're looking at this or whenever you look at this, hey, how you doing? Definitely miss you. She is one that was straight to the point, that'll tell you the truth. And Elder Wynn definitely had an impact on my life. So it started there. Not only that, I was able to coach with one of her brothers in my first basketball coaching position fresh out of college. And then also I cannot forget about her youngest brother, Kevin. And it's been a joy to see and work with our next guest. When we think about transforming lives, it's all about what impact do you have on someone else's life. And I have examined this from afar. And I just happened in planning this, it was just laid upon my heart to definitely bring this young lady on. So I'm excited as we begin our conversation. And we're going to get our conversation going in just a moment. just a moment. We're going to get this going. So let me buy a little time. We have a little technical difficulties, but we're going to get this going. Okay. Okay, so we're about to get going. So these things happen. That's okay. So let me know where you are coming from. Drop it in the chat box. Let me know. Let me know where you are coming in from. And we'll go ahead and get things going. All right. There we go.
There we are. Hello, hello, sir. Hello.
All right. Precious Grant, I want to let my viewers know, I want to welcome my next guest, Miss Precious Grant. I'm excited to have you on. How is it going?
Things are well. Things are well. Things are well. Life is moving, and it's changing and transitioning, but all is well.
Okay.
All is well.
And that's
how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. I was a little worried when I saw disconnected. Right, I was like, tonight, really.
Technology does that. Yeah, it makes you nervous.
Right. Yeah, I was like,
it makes you nervous.
Usually, what I do is because of course I do this, with education. Usually, I can kind of talk my way, work behind the scenes, and work my way back in there. I was like,
yes, definitely.
But good.
Yeah, technology is a thing, but you know what? Nothing is without, flaw. So sometimes you have to start it over or mess with it. So nothing is without flaw, and that's what makes things good,
Right, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I ask, everybody that comes on is, tell us about you. For a moment, I was talking about your brothers. I was talking about Elder Wynn. And again, another shout out, Elder Wynn.
Yes, shout out my mother, of course. Hello, Roxy. Foxy.
Tell us about you growing up.
Let's see. If I just be all the way honest, I don't have any, like running in the lilies, life was wonderful and beautiful type stories. As a kid, I was, just a typical kid. I had a big wheel, and I thought that big wheel was sure enough the thing to get me around the city, but I sure found out it was only meant for the neighborhood. As I transitioned into a young lady or a youth, I quickly, I enjoyed my childhood as a childhood, but at the same time, I was quickly shifted into a leader at home. So once I got old enough to where I could fry a pork chop and wash a dish, I definitely took on the position of a leader and a housekeeper at my home. So I had to take care of my little brother and make sure the house was clean and make sure whatever was concerning the house, my mom knew about it, and make sure the grass was cut and all that kind of stuff. So I was quickly shifted into a leadership position, even at home. But I mean, don't get it wrong, though. I mean, I still had moments of being a great teenager because I definitely remember piercing my own nose, and I remember taking a marker and writing on my whole wall in my room with a marker. And I don't think that was something that you were supposed to do, but I think that was me just being creative. So I was the typical, you know what I'm saying? I was the typical young lady, but I also, there was a place in my childhood where I had to shift and start thinking more as an adult. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, that took me back for a moment. I was in two places right there because one, I was like, man, I wish I could have been there. You walked there. And then two,
Woo! Yes, sir.
and then two, it reminded me of, man, my son is always writing on stuff. That just,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know what God put in us to innately say, writing on this couch would look good, and I think my parents would like it, but it's not a great idea. I mean, it's right on the edge of something is not right, but it's just in us. We have to try. Yeah.
right. I agree. Yeah. So with that being said, I must ask. We're not going to ask what influenced you on the writing on the wall, but many times we look at when we talk about transformation would be, there's someone in our lives that had an influence. So, who, maybe it's more than one person, who's had, the greatest impact, or who's had impact on your life?
You know what? When I kind of seen
or influence,
heard the question about impact or who's had the greatest influence on my life, I could not definitely pinpoint. I can pinpoint someone at the very end of this response, but I think that I am the sum total of many different people. I think I am the sum total of my dad, Larry Grant, and my mom, Roxy Wynn, and my grandmother, Mary Littlejohn. We called her Nanny. My Aunt Maggie, Aunt Boo, Ann Hartman, Josie, my son Joshua, Eric Thomas, who is a profound speaker, Professor Weinberg, which is someone who taught at AB Tech and who impact. I think that I am the sum total of a lot of different people. And I think when it comes to influence is something that you have to allow in order for it to have some kind of impact. So when I think of influence, I am my own biggest influence if I allow all those people to give me lessons that change my behavior for the better, then I am my own biggest influence. I have taken in information. I have grown as a person, and I think that's important when you are transforming through life. You have to be teachable. So when I look at it, I'm the sum total of so many different people, and not that I'm, I have all these random different personalities. What I have is just seeds of knowledge that have been dropped into my life that have allowed me to learn and grow and become.
Wow, yeah, that's good, and I'm seeing you transform right here. I'm not even gonna mess with you, but I'm gonna let it be. I'm saying, you said what now?
I've been drinking my coffee.
No. You see, I was sitting there smiling, and you got to talking, and I felt a little slight flashback. Well, I was like, I'm gonna ask you straight up.
Don't do it. Don't do it to me. Don't do it.
Yeah. So I like what you said. Where I really like, and you might see that on IG sometime or another. I wait a couple of months, a couple of weeks. I give you credit. Influence. You talk about and you named all the people. It's important that. And I like what you said about the sum total too. It's not just one person, but it's a lot of people that have come in your life that have influence. I like that. So
yeah, definitely, because I think that I think it's just a part of life's process. Because when we grow, we go through different seasons. We go through, that adolescent season, and we go through that teenage season. I mean, well, they probably are the same. You're a toddler, adolescent, adult, but I think in each season you become. And I think a lot of times the world kind of teaches us is that, go be your best self. But your best self is what is being taught all the time. My best self is being absorbed all the time. I have a mentor named Miss Wilson, and her daughter in New York, and just different people. my friend Kim Caldwell. I have a friend named Shamika and a friend named Turkisa, and all those people, when I allow them to give me information that causes me to grow, I
Right.
become my best self. I transform. And the transformation is seen in the receipt called behavior. You transform.
So that's important. And give me a couple of months. I'm not good at
Let me tell you something. If you get something from me, you don't even have to tag me, because nothing belongs to me, man. I just nothing belongs to me.
receipt is
You are funny though.
No, I just think you look, listen. When people now you think I got a little paper. You think
Yes, sir. I get it. I get it.
So you begin to talk about that. Let's define transformation, because that's what it's about. Give us your definition of transformation.
You know what? When I kind of I've looked at, everybody probably have looked up the word transformation in their lifetime, but if I look at it for this moment, and I said, Holy Spirit, tell me what is transformation at this point right now for me, because transformation can mean rebuild, rearrange, redo, renew, overhaul. Transformation is deep, and it's wide, so it can mean different things. But what stuck out to me is that I looked at the first three letters TRA in transformation, and I think it said it was like a derivatory, or that was the first part of it, and that part of that means across. And I think that where we are right now as a nation, and even myself, just as a personal place that I am in, is that I cannot get stuck in COVID-19. It's important that I go across or go over those things that I'm feeling and say, okay, it's only a moment. It's important that I keep going, because I think a lot of times we get stuck in a place that we're supposed to it's only supposed to be temporary housing, but we live in that moment. And the thing about it is, okay, there is a pandemic, but my guy Eric Thomas says, no, this is a plandemic. So while we're in this space, it's important that we figure out how to get across this place, because we're not going to be here all the time. There are going to be some changes that take place. There are going to be some new government policies. There are going to be some shifting in how we deal with racism. But how do we get across this thing? Because we can't stay here. This is only a temporary moment. Like I lost my son Joshua 7 months ago. And by right, I feel like I'm supposed to be depressed. I failed a class. I lost my Aunt Boot, which was like a grandmother. I got into a car wreck. I lost my son, and then I got into another car wreck. And then I tried to get, and I was thinking, well, how? And I said, well, hold on. The great I am lives on the inside of me. I got to get across this thing, which means that I cannot get consumed in culture. I cannot get consumed in what goes on in politics. I do have a part to play. I cannot get consumed in my son is not here. I miss him like crazy. He was my best friend, but I cannot live in that temporary space. It's only a temporary space. I got to figure out how to heal, how to grow. And then I invest all of that in myself so that I can help somebody else. So transformation is taking all of that. It's getting across what's going on at the moment. It's not staying there. It's a tent. It's not a house. Tents are temporary.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So those three words, TRA, the beginning of transformation, means to go across a thing. It doesn't mean stay there. It means to get across COVID-19, get across. We all know that Trump is in office, but don't allow that to be a distraction. We know, that there are plenty of things out there to buy, red bottoms and this and that, but don't get caught up in that, because we need you to be debt free.
Yeah.
We know that racism is evident, but how can you be a part of the solution and not the problem.
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
need people to get across some places and spaces, and it starts with us as individuals, and then we can go out and impact each other and trade information and be resources and transform the world.
Man, that look, listen to me. That
Huh?
was, if nobody else tell you, let me straight, let me get a little closer to this. Man, I'm serious. So you got me looking at this across.
I-
No, that's good. When folks sit back like this,
oh man, you know what? You are funny, but I'm telling you,
no, I'm being
it's
very,
good
no,
stuff.
this
It's
is
good stuff because I'm telling you, it seemed like it's so much stuff for us to get stagnant or get complacent in, and even in the grocery store, you'd be like, "Girl, you all right?" And you like, and it really goes against culture to say, you know what? I am moving forward. I am what God says I am. And it's not even that you're perfect or you're totally convinced of it, but you are determined to not stay in a place that's not transforming and is not moving. Because the thing about it is we are still here. We are still living. So how do we get across this particular season or across this moment or across these mindsets without, you know what I'm saying? Don't get stuck in depression. Don't get stuck in oppression. Where are you? Who are you? Identify that. Get you a strategy. Get out and get across that thing and live a good life.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things I want to say is, my condolences. I view when we think about death, of course, with my father passing several years ago,
Wow.
it changed
Woo.
how I respond to people in with bereavement. Like it changes. I deal with it so much. I deal with it differently
Man.
because you can't. I used to say, "Well, get some scriptures. I'm praying for you." Now I'm like, no, no, no.
No, you need to go to counseling and you
Right,
need to pray. You
right,
you
right, 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 right,
because
right.
it's a beast.
Right, right. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the real part of it that
Ooh.
when you're talking about getting across, like
Man.
sometimes getting across is like,
Yeah,
um,
sometimes getting across is just, I was telling my friend girl, I said, man, I tell you what, I went to go and pick up my son's evidence bags from,
mhm,
where he had passed away on his school campus. And all I could do is put the right foot on the floor, the left foot on the floor, and say, God, I know you love me. God, I know you got a plan. God, I am imperfect, and that's the way I'm supposed to be because you are perfect. Okay, what's the plan? Then I had to come over here and then I had to do my budget and my bills. Come on, let's don't be real way spiritual. Then later on that day, I had to repeat it. God, I know you love me. God, this is heavy. And before I know it, I had made it to the next day. And I had made it to the next day, and I could go wash my car, and I could go function again. I could tell this person, "Hey, I love you." You got to keep getting across. There is no there is no one to transformation. You just got to get across from it because this moments are only moments and seasons are only seasons. They don't last, but we do.
right, right. And you're stepping into really, I feel like you've answered, and I'm sure you elaborate more on the two keys where you talk about
Mm.
transformation. It is definitely a deep. It's it's not how we like. Yeah, transforming.
No.
Oh, give me a little bit more detail. Yeah, I submit, but it. I like what you
Yeah.
said. And I'm gonna let you answer the question. I like what you said earlier about transformation looks different in different seasons of your life.
Oh man. Yeah. 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 Transformation looks different in different places of your life. There's one key ingredient. I think there's two key ingredients, which I can say those are the two concepts I'll because I'm not really a deep person, and I
Mhm.
ain't really all that. I wouldn't say I'm a smart. I ain't really. I ain't really tied to no whole deep educational philosophies either. In different seasons in my life, I know that God has to be, because see, there's a recipe, but he has to be a main ingredient. I don't care if I'm making hamburgers or cake. Yeah, I don't care if I don't care if I'm going through a depression or I'm trying to get through law school. I don't care if I'm in a marriage, because marriage is a beast, or I'm in a friendship. He has to be the main ingredient. He has to be the man. Listen, I don't care if you are an atheist or a Catholic. I need you to cry out to God and say, listen, God, I don't know about this stuff, but I know there is no way the wind can shift and move things. I can't see the wind, but I know it's there. I know that that there is something greater than me. I need you, because I think he is the main ingredient for me. I got to say for me. And then the other ingredient is you have to be teachable. I'm telling you, this is like the key thing, because what I realized is that I was over my mom's house, and she had one of our relatives over there trying to tell him something about his schoolwork, and because all the kids are on virtual learning, and we done turned the parents into to teachers, and they really are not teachers. They need medicine right now, because they are not teachers. But what I realized with just watching him, and in other situations, she was telling him something. He's like, I know, I already got it. I know, I got it. I was like, wow. So you really can't get the information if you keep saying, Right. I don't think I truly can experience transformation. Or like when you asked me earlier, who has been an influence? I could not take on the influence and then allow it to become a behavior unless I was teachable, unless I was open to hearing, sis, I have a problem with such and such. And then she would tell me, or somebody might have came to me and said, listen, your attitude is a hot mess. And I had to say, nah, no, I'm straight. Well, there's no growth. There's no transformation when you already know and you're already teachable. You have to be teachable. You have to be open. And I'm not saying be open to all kinds of crazy philosophies. You have to be open to those things that really do change your behavior. You know what I'm saying? If somebody comes and say, listen, I know how you can stop getting mad, just start slapping people. Well, what does that remedy though? Right. No, there are some people in your life that'll come and say, listen, your attitude is not really good. I need you to really take some moments to try to listen to people. And then once you take on that behavior and you start listening, then you take in the information you need and you become that person that you were created to be in the beginning of time. You have to be teachable. You have to be teachable, and you have to let God order your steps. I'm telling you.
This is true. This is good stuff. Those two keys are definitely important.
And I'm sure, you know what, there are more keys, but what I'm telling you right now, because I have to hit you from the season that I'm in, I'm telling you, there are some spaces and places, and in this season that we're in that God wants to reveal himself to people. And you know what he wants us to do is just be simple, keep it simple. God wants us to get to know who we are. Mm-hmm. We need to get to know who we are. There is no way that we entered into a season of months of being in the house. After we done organized everything, and we done ordered 15,000 shoes, and we done allowed Amazon to take money out of our pocketbook, and we done drunk tea and coffee and put the kids out and then let them come back and all that kind of stuff. There is no way that we should come out of this pandemic and not know more of who we are. Because the thing about it is, that's the key. Right. We got to know who we are in order to transform our own lives first, and then others.
Right. I agree. That is definitely important. This is nobody else. Look, we're on social media. You didn't help one person. I think, you didn't help me because.
Listen, it's all good.
That's the thing. Are you coming out with something? And when you talked about playing, like what it made me think at that moment when you said, I put stuff down, but am I going to go walk this plan out? So that's
Yeah.
definitely important.
Yeah. And if anything, if you don't come out with a huge business, are you coming out, are you coming out treating your wife better? Are you coming out, with a more organized bill system? Are you coming out, you know what I'm saying, with some thoughts about the future? Have you landed you some life insurance? Have you, what has the pandemic actually done for you? Because nothing that you've gone through or going through shall be wasted. It doesn't have to be wasted. So what do you do to use this time as a transformational moment? What do you do? And it doesn't have to be deep. We don't have to be deep. It does not at all. Just make it a transformational moment. But what I will say is the scripture that comes to mind that I never knew about. I knew about it, but I didn't know about it completely. It says, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. In all my years of being a child and an adult, I did not see as you love yourself on the end. We have to figure out how to love ourselves. What does that look like? And I'm not talking about no selfish stuff. I'm saying love yourself enough to try God. Love yourself enough to eat better. Love yourself enough to balance your budget. Love yourself enough to say, you know what? I don't have to have Jordans or red bottoms or anything, but I do need life insurance. I do need new tires on my car. I do need to plan for 2025 and 26 and 2027. I do need to figure out how to become a legacy. I do need to figure out how to invest in my own bank if I need to set up some family legacy for my family. I do need to create some land so that I can build a school and put some young men in there so that they can come out of prison and become transformational thinkers. I do need, what is it that I need to do to be transformational? I need to love myself first, because that's the key. Love thyself as you love thy neighbor. So love yourself enough to choose God in the recipe and be teachable, because we won't stay in this moment for long, and you got to be ready to live a transformational life, to live a good life. It's not so much about having things. It's about having peace and having joy and affecting the lives of people around you.
That's it right there. Like you get to that point of when we're talking about you mature in those areas that you, like you're saying, like Jordans. Like I see Jordans and I'm like, they'll be all right. They look nice, but now I have to think about. I like what you said. You that forward thinker that is 2020. Let me start thinking 2025, 26. Yeah. Let me start thinking. Because okay.
Yeah, it's definitely. If I could leave this interview with 6 words, I would say, and it's based, those 6 words are supported by Joshua 1:9, is that go be great, don't ever compete. Now, what I mean by that is that I know we're going to be in some competing things, and basketball's competing and soccer competing. What I mean is that don't ever get to a place where you're trying to figure out, why aren't you like somebody else? You know why you can never be like me, Tony? Is because we don't even have the same fingerprint. God so intricately put me together and gave me lines in my hand that are so small that just in looking at me, you can't see. Yours are different and mine are different. There is no way you can be me. When I walk in the room, I carry a certain weight about me. I know I have the ability to concretize certain things. Mm-hmm. When you walk into a room, you are you. Right, so, but culture has got us thinking that we need to be more like a Beyonce, and I need to wear my hair like such and such. We were never created to be like each other, because there is uniqueness and there is deliverance and there is peace in us just being ourselves. We can transform our own communities through our own gifts if we just be ourselves. So I would say, go be great and don't ever compete, because there is nobody that can be you. Love yourself first, then you can spread that healthiness out into your community, So go be great and don't ever compete. There's only one you.
Oh, that's good. That's whew. Okay. Whew. Yeah, that's practical information that
Just practical. Just practical. Walk into a room and be you. Master you. What? And if you don't know you, I would say I would say a move, a bold move in 2020, a lit move,
right,
whatever awesome word that we want to say,
right.
is that spend some time with you. Get out the face of social media. Get out the circles that you're in and spend some time with you. Because once you figure out, no, I don't really like red. I just been doing red because you like red. And
Yeah.
I don't really like the fact of, I don't really like hanging around people that drink real heavy. And I don't
Mm,
really like going to the mall. Once you figure out you, it's gonna take some sacrifice, because then you're gonna have to say, you know what, I'm gonna have to rock it out alone. But
right.
when you figure out that's okay, you're going to transform your life and everybody around you, and you will become your best self and live a quality of life that God has designed from you in the beginning of time. One last blurb. I want people to know this big, huge statement that I've been thinking about for decades and years and years and years, from BC to right now. Christians aren't perfect. One more time. Christian people are not perfect. I think in the church, and I know this is not a church conversation, this is a transforming life, but at the same time, I just want to make the announcement that Christians and people that talk about God and his principles and just daily, they aren't perfect people. We aren't perfect people.
Hmm.
I am a Christian. I love God. That's my God. That's my dad.
Right.
We aren't perfect people. We are so imperfect that we've been trying to hide our imperfections and our issues and our things that go on in the church, but we don't realize that that's our strength, because it's our imperfections that drive us to a perfect God that can give us peace, that can give us money during a pandemic, that
Right.
can give us innovation and creativity. We were created to transform lives, but it's only through us admitting, hey, I got an alcoholism. I'm an alcoholic. You know what? I dealt with abuse in my family, and my brother has made me mad. You know what? We had cancer, but we hid it, and I got a lying problem. And you know what? I
Right.
watch a lot of porno. It's in us admitting things that can transform lives. We are not in. I am making an announcement today that Christians aren't perfect people. We are imperfect people. And it's in our imperfection, reaching for God. And I'm not talking about once God gives us a remedy. I'm not talking about repeating behaviors, but allowing God to get in and transform our lives so that we can transform others, whether it be a politician, the
Hmm.
political system, the government system, the educational system, or just us trying to be cordial friends with our neighbors like
Right.
we should be.
Right.
That's when the world becomes transformational. When we can show people we're not perfect people. We never have been, and this has been alive since a long time ago. So
Yeah.
let me show you my imperfections so I can let you know that we have something in common. But let me also show you what's my recipe for getting peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Transformational lives. Go be great. Don't compete. Live a transformational life.
Man, you've I yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even
I
yeah.
appreciate you allowing me to be here. I
You
appreciate you allowing me to be here.
okay,
It's
yeah.
regular girl.
In me, it's important that you obey. I'm just gonna put it like that. It's important. It don't make sense, but it's important that you obey. It is
That's good.
important you obey. That is just simple, simple. I have no
Oh man, I'm telling
rebuttal.
you.
It's simple.
That's good.
When
It's important that you obey. Even if you obey scared, if you obey by yourself, if you obey and you don't understand, because that's faith. It's obey and taking the step. It's obey and taking the next step. It's obey and not having all the funding. It's obey and not having a master. It's obey. and just trusting God. You have to say it out loud like Precious. God, I know you love me. God, I know you got a plan. God, this is heavy for me, but I know that you're a great God that lives on the inside of me, that runs this whole earth and its imperfections. And you're going to transform lives, starting with mine. Yeah.
So I learned this from that you spoke that had an influence on my life as well. Ann Hardman, Bishop Ann Hardman, Dr. Ann Hardman.
Oh, yeah, my lady, my girl.
And one of the things I learned is that, yeah, at the moment that, because I want to ask these questions, man, but you didn't. It's at the moment I learned it from God. Look, I know this is whatever God has spoken, and I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I know there's some other questions, but God has spoken, and I'm gonna leave it. If you care to ask,
Definitely.
but I'm leaving it at that, man. That
No, I don't have anything else. I do want to say to you, just continue to be used. I heard this morning, and I don't know, I was just listening. It was just, don't despise the day of small beginnings, because you don't know. It looks like this right now, but T.D. Jakes was preaching the other day. He said there is a bigger picture. And sometimes we're here, but there's a much bigger picture. And sometimes you start off in seed form, but then he sees you in 2020, but there's a bigger picture in 2027, in 2028, and 2029. So keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate this. I don't care if one person sees it or if you and I were just going back and forth. It helped me, and I learned from it. Now, I'm teachable at all times. You know, life has a way of humbling you, and you learn and you grow and you transform. You allow yourself to be transformed, therefore transforming others. Go be great, Mr. Kimball.
Miss Precious Grant, thank you so much for coming on.
Already.
Man, all I can say is thank you. Next week we're gonna be all. But if you're viewing this at this particular point, I know that her words have been very impactful, and we thank you for viewing it. We will see you all next week. Thank you, Miss Grant. And this concludes our show. We will talk with you.